Practice with Poonam and Parker. Hey, Poonam, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Parker. How are you?
I'm doing well myself. Today's topic for this episode is look at the lilies of the field, or we could also name it the insanity of anxiousness. So I pulled out some of the transcripts from Oprah's New Earth series that she did with Eckhart, where they were highlighting Jesus's passage, "Look at the lilies of the field." And what Eckhart said is he's paraphrasing what Jesus said. He's saying, "Look at the lilies of the field." He said, "Look." And Oprah said, "Aren't they pretty?" Yes. He said, "Look, you really have to look because there's something that they embody, something that you also have. And because of all of your anxiety about tomorrow and all of your thinking, we miss it." So, but jumping up before that, he said, a flower is very much more of a fragile plant than, say, a tree. It's more fleeting, ethereal. I think that's the word, more ethereal. So it has less density to it than most other things. And because of the lack of density, it's almost as if spirit could flow through it more freely. So when Jesus is saying, "Look at the lilies of the field," I myself garden and know plants very well. Lilies are very fleeting. They come, they're beautiful for a few weeks, and then they're gone. And they don't come back again until deep into summer sometimes. So look at the lilies of the field. They're not thinking about their short life, about what a shame it is because they're so beautiful and now they have to die. They don't complain about their hardship. So right now, all the trees are losing their leaves and they're not having a problem with it. All the leaves aren't saying, "Oh, I only got to live such a short period of time. If I lived in a warmer climate, I would keep my leaves for longer." So it comes down to just a full and total acceptance of what is, to come and live so vibrantly and not complain when we start to die, when the inhale and exhale, the contraction and expansion, so we move with all of it with ease, without any problem, without any anxiety, without any concern, come and exist, and then we move back again. So the other thing I love about nature and flowers that we'll do another video on is how we can look at them, look at a flower, look at any object, but most easily with nature, to look without labeling. To look at a flower and sit with it in silence, and without any labeling, any story about how long it's going to live. So there's two different perspectives to having a relationship with flowers and with nature in general. The beauty of that stillness, right? They're pre-thinking, showing us what it's like to transcend our thinking. How are the flowers in Texas these days, Poonam?
I don't think around my apartment there are very many flowers. So I have to cherish as many times that I go to the grocery store and see their flower arrangements. I love flowers. I think in conjunction with that, there's another passage he talks about, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," quotes Jesus, right? For theirs will be the kingdom of heaven. And the blessed, the poor in spirit. The poor in spirit is a person who has lost their identification, who has lost their baggage, right? And I see that the more we are in presence, the crystalline, luminous quality to that human being comes through. Like you can look in their eyes, and there's like clear glass clarity in their eyes, right? And I mean, when you look at Eckhart, look at the clarity. I can see his video and look into his eyes, and there's like total presence just in the looking into his eyes, right? So I feel that's what he is pointing at, that that our goal is to be that crystalline, luminous presence. That's what the flower is showing us in a form that is so gorgeous, so magnificent, that the moment we see a bouquet of flowers, it just fills us with joy, no matter who you are, right? And the fact that it is that crystalline quality, that formlessness, that invisible presence is in that flower, and it's showing through its beauty that consciousness, right?
Yeah. What do you think of like the silk and plastic flowers?
I don't like them.
There's still, you can see the grasping to keep the flower alive in the silk and plastic arrangements. I have driven by people's homes, and they'll have baskets in the summertime. The sun is out. It's in a nice sunny spot, but there's still a plastic flower arrangements. Sometimes window boxes full of plastic flower arrangements, and I'm not cheered by them in the winter time. There's plastic flower, or it seems like a sort of like a holding onto them, but what a lesson that flowers have to teach us.
And that's why he says flowering of human consciousness, they are a good sign. I think in A New Earth chapter 1, he says that is the sign of the flowering of human flowers of the first form that showed us that there's a flowering of human consciousness, and that is a new earth.
Yes. Or I also love the way when there's many of something, then we call it a weed for volunteers and comes up by itself in a crack in a sidewalk. Now it's a weed, right? So are we looking at that flower and saying, well, I got to get that weed out, marring my pristine concrete? Are we digging at it to pull it out? Or are we marveling and saying, look at the fortitude and of this flower that comes without even considering it found a place to come up here in this sidewalk. It's not thinking I'm going to get pulled out by this next person that or tread upon. It doesn't say I've not refused to bloom. I'm not even going to come out of this sidewalk because what's the use anyway? Right? It's, one day I want to do a whole tour of the garden before the cold truly sets in, and to talk about all the lessons, all the languages that come out of plants in the garden. It's a whole orchestra of different plants and how long they're here for, what they create, what they require to grow and do their best, when they die, how prickly or not prickly it is, kind of sun and soil and interaction that they require. So I really hope to do that. And also through some of my tribulations with flowers, I'm not a friend to house plants. I tend to overmother plants. I'm going to feed them so much that they die. So it's there's so much on the relative and absolute to learn from flowers and from plants in general, but most importantly and primarily about the insanity of anxiety and concern and worry. It's doing nothing. It's doing nothing to contributing to the awakening consciousness on the planet. And a flower can teach us that. Good day.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Poonam.